Welcome, Naren. I'm so pleased to have this opportunity to speak to you this morning. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm very honored to be here.
So for those of you who have not met Naren, she is our featured keynote speaker at the Mid-Atlantic Women's Herbal Conference in September. So we're super excited to have her. The first time I heard her speak was at the New England Women's Herbal Conference. Well, the first time I saw her, actually, she performed a beautiful shamanic dance at the closing circle at the New England Women's Herbal Conference. And she has brought to this country some of the things that she has learned and incorporated into her life from her childhood in Mongolia. And she has founded the Tolin Center for Healing. And she's going to share a little bit about her story, at her childhood story, which is very intriguing, and also a little bit about the work she does, the healing that's very unique that she brings to those of us in the West who need her so desperately. So I'm wondering, Naren, if you could tell us a little bit about your childhood and how that influenced you as a healer, making you, bringing you to where you are today.
So I'm from Inner Mongolia, which we are part of China. It's one of a state. And my area is called Ordos. It's a southwestern Mongolia. And pretty much desert, and the part is grassland. So when I was about 6 years old, so we have to move from small town, move down to countryside, and because of the political reason, China going through the Cultural Revolution. My father was a political prisoner, and my mother took my brother. He was 4 years older than me. He's 10, I'm 6. We moved to the countryside, live with my grandma. And then 2 years later, my mother passed away. And so me, my older brother, and my young sister, she was 1 year old when my mom passed away. So we lived with my grandma for a few years. And my grandma was a midwife, herbalist, and a healer. So while during the time I lived with her, she took me to the nature, and you pick up some herbs and tell me what the herbs does for people. And I often go to the farmer's house, you know, watching her giving the delivery babies. So that type of thing, that must be my earliest healing medicine influence I got from my grandma.
So do you currently work with a lot of women because of that early formative training?
Yes, now I've been as a skincare specialist for 20 years. And so that is one of my passions since my teenager, and really is my hobby become profession some way. But way before that, my first profession, I was a nurse. So back home, I worked in small hospital, went to nursing school for nurse. And from that time, I trained Chinese Qigong. I'm always interested in healing medicine. So then last 20 years, practice as a skincare specialist. And I also did reiki training. So I started kind of combine reiki and the qigong work on my client. And I got great feedback from client. And then last, 5-6 years, I added more to it, which I reconnect to my ancestors, healing modality, and my grandma's spirit really, I think, working with me, and I adopted shamanism to my practice. Now I do a lot of healing work with mainly as women, also young children and teenagers, college students, which people going through difficulties with the life changes. My youngest client is 7 years old, and which witnessed the parents' divorce. Is very traumatized from that experience. And of course, oldest client will be 90 years old. So I have yes.
Do you have any favorite plants that you'd like to share with us that you work with regularly, and share a little bit about why you like?
I always love a plant, and since childhood use of plants, when we get sick, no matter cold or stomach ache, my grandma used it a lot. And from my childhood, used the plant most was the ginger. If you catch cold, have a ginger tea. Have stomach ache, ginger tea. Ginger is one of my favorite herb. And the other is mint. Mint these days is almost like my daily herb. I use a lot for smoothies. Mint tea is really my favorite herb use a daily basis. And the other is sage, which is sage, of course, have as an herb, have a lot of nutrients, but I use more for kind of spiritual purpose, smudge, and to cleansing and spiritual ceremony. I use sage a lot. This must be like 3 plants I use most.
And is it the regular sage that we use in the kitchen, or is it like white sage that I know?
Yeah, white sage. I use the most white sage.
Beautiful. Such a beautiful fragrance. And so cleansing.
Yes, sage have such a powerful spiritual benefit to cleanses space and neutralizes the energy, and I use that for my client daily basis.
So, one of the things that I find is that a lot of young women are often, searching their hearts for their path and what I would call their life path, or maybe their life purpose. And sometimes they lose confidence in their abilities, or their, they can't really find their way, and they're feeling lonely and empty. And I'm wondering if you had a message just from the struggles that you've been through, which we'll hear more about at the conference, I think, in your keynote speech. But through your journey and struggles, you have this wisdom, and I'm wondering if you had something you could share with them, just a message to give them hope or help them find their way.
Yes. From my own personal healing experience, and what I think most important is when we feel so vulnerable and we are so trapped from past, whatever the experience we had, it's we disconnected from all others. We feel all alone. Nobody understands my suffer, my trauma, and I'm all alone experiencing this. Mm-hmm. So from my own experience from the healing through all these years, and healing is a longer journey. It's not that we went to, few shamanic healing session or therapy, we will be okay. But the most important is thinking all our experience as an experience and remove us from that victim position, because often we are a victim of a certain situation. So when we are a victim, we lose that power of control and manage our life. That is one thought. And the other is how we frame our experience. Instead of this is a trauma, I had this terrible childhood, and seeing that it's just a part of life. What we going through, just the same as we go to gym, we go to yoga, we go to travel. This is just a different experience which helps us grow and learning, get the wisdom of life and enlightenment. So if we see often many spiritual leaders, and they often had a very tough life experience and childhood. So these, the worst experience become the best teacher to us. If we see from different angle about our life experience, really help us get out from that the thought of I'm the victim.
Yeah. Are there, ceremony or cleansing, or are there techniques that can help besides just trying to think differently and reframe how you're thinking? Would you, if a young woman came to you seeking help, would there be some sort of procedure otherwise that would come to your mind to help?
Yes. So as shaman healing, typical shaman healing technique is helps this person to, I use the words kind of like a scan. So from their childhood until this present moment now, what a dramatic episode happened that is deeply affect them. So sometimes these are related to the soul loss experience. Even, for example, we had a car accident, or just learning swimming, drowning in the pool. We can experience soul loss. But then once people soul loss experience, they have a difficulty to ground, center themselves. So this is in shamanic healing is all often we say is the soul healing, soul retrieval type technique we use. So that helps them tremendously kind of reconnect the person with their soul and grounded again. This is a technique in shamanic healing we use often. Other is give them tool. Often what the tools they can use at home for self-healing, and it's I suggest people do yoga and meditation, because this is a kind of time of self-love, spend time with ourselves and processing our thought and our feelings. And that is very important when we are when people going through, for example, depression, they want to just stay home, don't social, don't go out, and block themselves from nature and from people. So this is the negative cycle become.
Yeah.
So when we're going through challenge, difficulties, I call, we do a spiritual detox. The spiritual detox is we go out hiking on the sun and go do the yoga, go sweat, and meditate and work with ourselves. What is truly bother me? Just like I call like peeling the onions, peel the outside layer off, see what is the really true cause of this feeling. I'm feeling now. So often we get tricked by our thought is, I have a serious issue now, this moment. But when we spend the time work on our thought, we will discover I don't have any problem now. There's a reason I feel problem. The seed is coming back when I was 7 years old, or when I was 10 years old. Something happened then that really affects me, my coping skill for now. Whenever I have challenge, and I will often fall into the pattern, same pattern again. So I teach people this technique to find out what their emotion today is related to the past. And to understand that helps people to get out from the pattern they are get trapped with.
That makes sense. That's beautiful. So I recently met a woman who, she's in her 60s and her children have all grown and left home. And she described her childhood as being marinated in fear. She had a very traumatic childhood. And then she functioned, very, very busy with raising her children and maintaining her household. And as soon as she was done that work in her 60s, she became enveloped by fear again. And it has manifested as a fear of germs, of getting sick. So she can't touch people and she doesn't want to go out. She's very she's so fearful. She said it's like a monster that's sitting on her back with its claws digging into her, and she can't shake it off, even though she knows she shouldn't think that way. So I wonder if there's something that you could, for somebody who's in that situation that can't even come into your office because they're so afraid of the germs that might be in your office. Is there a place to start for grounding a person like that she could at least administer herself?
Yes. For that case, I do distance healing. So do a kind of FaceTime and talking to the person. And through talking to the person, basically, the distance healing is I'm still in kind of some way in a trance state. Can sense the person's the energy, what the cause of this fear is come from. So sometimes it's from our early life experience, is a kind of the seed there. And but like you said, because she had a strong life purpose to focus on her children, her raise for her family, and she didn't have a really time to moment to heal that part of her never being healed, left still with wound there.
Right.
So once the children grow, when she finished her duty, when she have time to thinking about her life again, I think the past could really attacking her. And this is one. And other is when people going through, for example, menopause, because of the hormonal change. And we have a big emotional and physical shifting. So through this shifting, how our coping mechanism is. When people going through a depression, long period of depression time, so in shamanic ways, we can be nested by the negative spirit. So when we get nested by negative spirit, that will be have a, if it's an alcoholic spirit, so the person really craving alcohol, if for some drug addicted spirit, then the person could be get into drug. So that's when work with the person, we often find out what this person's the spiritual connection with other spirit is. So through that we help, and also teaching how to cleansing themselves and how to protect. It's energy form basically. We connect to the no matter what the form of a spirit is through an energy form. So when we are in really light, positive spirit, so we connect to the light and the positive energy. When we are dark, we connect to the dark spirit and the dark energy. It's kind of like a somehow common sense, and that bring the person out from the darkness. It's the first step, is that they have to be willing to work together, make that shift.
Yeah, beautiful. That's a beautiful image. I love that. So I think we're running out of time, but I'm looking forward to seeing you at the International Herb Symposium next week.
Yes, looking forward.
And of course, I'm especially looking forward to hosting you at the Mid-Atlantic Women's Herbal Conference in September as our keynote speaker. And you're going to be teaching some classes as well. So I know that the participants are going to learn so much from your radiant wisdom. You've got such a beautiful glow about you, and I'm really excited to have you and honored that you're joining us. So thank you so much, Naren.
Thank you very much, and I'm so honored to be invited to this Atlantic Women's Herbal Conference, and give me an opportunity to share my ancestors' healing medicine with everybody, and I'm very grateful. Thank you. Have a beautiful day. I'll see you next week.